How's it going, everybody? This is Seer here, and today I have with me Diamond Dave, who was the #2 finisher on the Xavier Saga. Now, he's been playing with him for a little bit now, and as far as my progress goes, I'm currently stuck on the Global Hero. I'm pretty sure in about 2 weeks I'll have my Xavier. I'm just kind of waiting for the mutant payout, the bio payout. Then I should be kind of good to go to get my Xavier. Now, we were kind of talking off camera a little bit as far as like how Xavier kind of is. I've seen some of your Crucible matches, and he's not performing as well as you would like. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's safe to say for me. Maybe I had high expectations, maybe I had high hopes, but yeah, I'm a big defensive player. I prefer to load up a little bit more on the defense, not to have these matches come down to 3, 4, 5 efficiency points on who just took an extra turn, or maybe your character finished with that little bit extra life. That's not fun for me. Sometimes it's fun for other players, which I get. So, but I like the defensive side, and he's just unusable on defense right now.
Yeah, that was kind of my taking as well. In Crucible, I love doing certain turtle, like really go hard in about 2 or 3 rooms, trip up your opponent, and then from there kind of go into the efficiency battle. And that's how I kind of really climb the ranks. And they're definitely moving more towards like an offensive heavy portion meta, even this season goes, which I agree about Xavier kind of being a huge offensive weapon. Like, he will take out several things, but you kind of feel like they might need to make some slight alterations to Xavier. What do you think they need to kind of do to him? And do you think it might be a little bit too much? Because we don't want like another APOC where they like overload the rework to him,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if he had a way to protect himself just a little bit more before he went, the special and the ult is deadly, and maybe there's some strategy in there. But right now, the way it sits, as far as on defense, you have to pair him with other extremely valuable characters in order to protect him in a way that doesn't just say immortal me. And it's kind of one of those things where strategy is going to play a big, huge part of this. I will say this, Crucible specific, maybe if the room rules didn't change and we still had 1 and 4 the way they were going to be prior, Professor Wex is now the answer to those room rules. So there's always a good balance, and I think it's a lot of fun to use the newest characters and the latest characters that we get. So I don't want that to be disregarded, but if there was just a way that he could protect himself, I don't know, maybe can't get a negative effect until this character takes a turn, maybe stun or ability block or something along those lines, or just on turn remove negative effects or whatever the case may be, rather than it being tied to an ultimate. Those 2 things can be super oppressive. So I don't want to say that I've thought them through completely, but some way to protect him, to protect himself, so that you don't have to kind of rely on really stacking the team, because these mythic characters that take a while to build up to, you're weeks or sometimes months of farming for, depending on where you're at from a player standpoint, sometimes hours, right? It could be a challenge when you get that character and you're like, well, now I've got to pair him with every other good character that I have. Where's my depth? I want to be able to spread this out a little bit.
Yeah, because I know one of the counters that you used in Crucible was like Illuminati, Old Man Logan, I believe, and Xavier to take out that like monster of room 6. That's a huge investment, including like your new mythic character. Now, granted, that would allow you to use like Odin back on defense type of thing, and you can kind of trip them up a little bit there. But again, if they have their own Xavier, they can kind of take that out. During the playtest for me, he felt really good, but the playtest is always like subject to not really change, but when he goes in live server, it does feel different at times. Now, he's not a slow character by any means. He's 127 speed. So as you're saying, if you end up getting like an ability block or stun, because Xavier is able to be controlled, then from there, it kind of comes down to if your opponent or your side uses that ultimate, it kind of starts reducing those negative effects, and he starts to get healed off of those negative effects being cleared off. So trying to find a character to pair with him that's like a 128 speed, so you can try to make sure you get that ult to clear him off, that is kind of a feel bad thing in a sense. So I definitely get it, especially when you spent X amount of dollars or X amount of time to get this character. And we want to make sure that he's going to be viable for a long time because he is that mythic character. So I definitely get it from that standpoint. Now,
Absolutely.
for those,
I even brought my own null. Right, 128. He went first. We cleared a negative effect. Their Gore went randomly ability blocked off the Gore passive. Randomly ability blocked our Xavier. So even then, it's such a challenge to really protect him, especially from the RNG. So it's crazy. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
yeah, no, you're good. That I did see that matchup where it was you and Miss Shores, and like that was just bad RNG targeting, and it basically cost you your matchup. So I get it when it's like a bad RNG check that kind of takes that victory away from you. No,
Yeah. Nobody I'd rather lose to that way though. Absolutely.
Yeah, Miss Shores is awesome. I really dig her. But I am still doing my progress. Now, I know we can kind of talk a little bit about the city, the global villain, because I did that section as well. I'm very close to the global hero portion being done. Now, for the city section, now it is just a flat city section, and the characters that were recommended was Blade, Oath, and then the Vigilante characters. I didn't wait for Hitmonkey. I got Punisher. I have no regrets about taking Punisher because he hits like a Mack truck. People were asking if I end up taking Hitmonkey, who do I bench out? I think it would be Punisher, but you need to be careful as far as the star levels goes, because if your Hitmonkey is, I would say, anywhere under 5 red stars, you're losing out on too much damage to try to get the ability, energy, the control. Because there's a certain node on the city section, it's the one before the boss node, where it has that huge 50% turn meter drop in, which I'm pretty sure you're familiar with that one. What would you end up taking if you were to do this again? Because I think you took the same characters, right?
Yep, I did take the same characters. I had Elektra ready to go. I did accidentally slot in Elektra instead of Silver Sable at one point in time, and it was atrocious, really, really bad. So Silver Sable definitely staying in there without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Now that I've got Hitmonkey, I'm probably going to just rerun those nodes within the next couple days just to make sure. But Hitmonkey just came out for me. I literally just pressed the button on him, about 20 minutes ago. So we'll be testing it for sure. I've actually considered taking out Oath and running a 4-piece at this point, right? With how good the Vigilante team is, and then I might try to do the whole 5-piece even with Elektra. Let's see how it goes. So
okay,
more to report back, but my thought there is the Oath was useful and definitely worked well with Blade, but the Vigilante team is hitting pretty hard, so I would be scared to take out Punisher for sure. Punisher and Sable definitely carried those nodes for me, and that's exactly it. It was one of the biggest tips that I can have for anybody who might be going through there is I spend a lot of time opening with the special of Silver Sable, and then doing the ult either like in her second or third turn, right? Kind of holding on to that towards the end. It may not be a big secret, but that's just something that I found to be really helpful at the end. It was just really a good way to kind of finish some of those characters off and quickly.
Yeah, there were definitely certain nodes where I didn't need to do like an AoE clear. So it's like, well, let me just steal some buffs instead, like flip them with the special, do that adjacent damage, and then when the next wave comes down, use the ult and just clear the wave off. So I definitely agree about that. People were asking me about Daredevil Modern. Would you end up dropping him for Hitmonkey? I don't think so. His special, being able to do the heal and negative effect flip, definitely helped because you need to 3-star those nodes. So I think if you take him out, you're going to be susceptible to like losing a character or two, meaning that you're not going to end up getting the 3 stars, right?
Spot on. I ran mine as a healer and ran into very little issues throughout the trial. So I thought it was a fantastic way. Mine was 1 diamond, right? So it might be higher than some, lower than others. But yeah, it definitely a healer on Daredevil Modern was a huge help. So many times I thought, oh man, my characters are done and we're out. And those extra couple regenerations, and then obviously his special healing back up. It was, it was what saved the day, really.
Yeah, mine was 4/4 when I did it. So I wanted Fortifier to try to make sure he'd stay alive. And as far as positioning goes, I put Oath adjacent to Daredevil just because I didn't want Blade kind of dying. I didn't want Punisher going out. Oath at least has a drain mechanic and the lifesteal. There were a few times I lost Oath when I was trying to do that second to last node, and she either died out due to bleeds because I couldn't get a heal on her, So putting another vigilante there, I definitely could see the bonuses to that. I do have a lot of skill characters that were on my list, so it's a matter if you can spare the skill gear, which we're going to have to look at some of the later sections to see where we can make up on maybe sliding Oath out for Hitmonkey, because Hitmonkey doing the additional sustain on himself, he has a stun mechanic, ability energy to keep your vigilante team going. I do think that's actually pretty enticing if I were to do that again. Now,
Yeah, that's my first thought. So.
Yeah, because the Mystic, I mean, we have Mephisto is a 5-piece. Null, I would love to take him, and he's a 3-piece. And then we have Odin, who's a 5-piece Mystic as well. So we are pretty Mystic heavy as well. So it's really, really dicey on who you'd end up sliding out and make up for it later. Actually, Global Villain is the next section. So for the villain section, I end up taking Lady Deathstrike, Nimrod, Scientist Supreme, Sentinel, and I brought APOC in. APOC's very expensive with that 5-piece mutant, but I love Apocalypse, so I wanted to bring him along. Lady Deathstrike, she's a cheap character, and I walked over the Global Villain nodes. It was kind of a joke how easy that section was. Was it for you as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. My only difference that I had was Omega Sentinel instead of Lady Deathstrike. And mine was selfishly for Cosmic Crucible and the pings, right?
Yeah.
For the overpowered back, get a couple of weeks of what that might feel like. Didn't matter too much. But APOC really makes it just really kind of a walk in the park. So, and I've been told by several folks is that I didn't need to bring APOC. And that they didn't, too. And they were able to get through it pretty quickly. So, which is good. There's options, but I don't think you can go wrong with bringing Apocalypse.
Yeah, I had people ask me as well, like if they took APOC out, who you could slide in. If you're a Crucible Fiend, Omega Red Phoenix Force could slot in here, I feel. And then you could even maybe drop like Lady Deathstrike or Nimrod, one of the two, because you're going to clear those waves with Lady Deathstrike and the Sentinel bots and whoever that other character is. People were asking about Zombie Scarlet Witch, which I find interesting if you're really into war, or even Ares, but again, Ares is Mystic. But sliding in another bio character for Zombie Scarlet Witch, I do think that's actually viable. And then do the Omega Red Phoenix Force, you have that mutant in there, kind of spread it out.
Yeah, I've got Omega Red done. I don't have Zombie Scarlet Witch, but I might try that now. That is interesting. Yeah, we might do that. We've got a little excess of bio right now, so why not?
Yeah, because, I mean, Nimrod getting the speed from Sentinel or Lady Deathstrike was just a fast, high-damage character. I was clearing waves. Nimrod, I would use his ultimate. I'd take out about 5-6 characters. Next wave comes down, I special. That wave is gone. It was very entertaining just watching the enemy just fall apart.
Yes, absolutely.
Are there any other characters you think that could fit for the global villain besides like Zombie Scarlet Witch, Omega Red Phoenix Force, Ares? I don't really think there's really any others that's like a high value. Agatha, I would love to bring along. She was on my initial pick, but she's a Mystic character, so I wanted to try to like stay away from that. Maybe the Cabal, like maybe slot in like Iron Patriot or Leader could do, but they're old stat characters. I didn't want to go with them. Taskmaster Ghost, I mean, Thunderbolts looks really good. You can probably slot those two in. That gets you a skill and a tech character to slot in over APOC and maybe like Lady Deathstrike. I think that could be viable.
Yeah, I agree. I think, especially depending on when you're watching this and if the reworks are live, I think that'll be super impactful at that time. Might be some cheaper options to bring up, but Orcus is still really, really good. And if you can with Lady Deathstrike, who's only 2-piece, 50 pieces, really strong. It's going to be hard, I think, until maybe new characters come out or something along that changes their mind. I think those are kind of the you're sitting at what looks to be pretty good if you bring in that team.
Yeah, and again, APOC is not needed. He does give that passive boost of like extra 20% damage to your team. The ultimate just kind of clears out a wave for you, so it does make it quicker as far as the waves goes. Like I could have autoed it; it was that easy. So
yes,
I think
I did auto.
Let's go ahead.
Speed.
Let's go ahead and move over to the hero section. So what I have right now, I have Captain Sam done, I have Peggy Carter and Falcon Joaquin done. I'm waiting for the mutant payout for the leaderboard that just started. That's going to get me Emma Frost X-Men done, Shadow King done, and Havoc pretty much done. That's what I'm mainly waiting for. That we have a bio leaderboard that's going to finish off Patriot, and then a couple cosmic villain characters. Now, I believe this is the team that you used, correct?
This is the team that we used in the end. Yeah, so I had Emma Frost ready to go. I did the regular nodes before the boss with Old Man Logan instead of Emma Frost.
Mm-hmm.
And that was fine until we got to the boss node, to where I think it's been well documented, but we'll just cover it again.
Yep.
Old Man Logan, they get a copy of Old Man Logan. Their Old Man Logan is 500% faster than yours, and their Old Man Logan takes you to town before you even get a turn off. So it was incredible to watch that happen. And then I got the smart idea. I also had Black Knight done too. Well, nothing's different there. Black Knight, you just give them a Black Knight, and then every time you take a turn, you lose one of your characters because he one-shots you. It was wild to go through that. So each of those characters are not regrettable from taking up, but if I'm on my resources, are a little bit more constrained, and I'm focused on, hey, I just want Xavier. I think maybe those two characters are post-Xavier characters, and I focus more on maybe Emma Frost, and I've also heard Jean Grey can do the nodes perfectly as well too, without causing that same ripple effect of massive damage back to your team.
Yeah, so the Old Man Logan's just really funny because they recommended Old Man Logan, so people fell into that trap. It's like, well, I want to take him anyway, so they take him up, then they kind of run into that buzzsaw. And it's like, okay, so now I'm kind of stuck here till I can replace Old Man Logan. I'm still going to take Old Man Logan up, but it's going to be after I get Xavier done. I mean, that's kind of crazy not to do that.
I agree completely. Fantastic. Like I said, no regret from having it here. But yeah, if I was constrained on mutant gear and I got to that section and then I found myself playing that for hours on end, the game of, when you're a child and you're like, stop hitting yourself. That's how I feel Old Man Logan is doing to my team. So yeah, I agree with you though. No regrets. I'm glad he's there. I would have taken him up the minute the trial's over, either way, for sure.
Yeah. So as far as like replacement characters goes for the global hero section, somebody I was talking to said they actually brought in Hank Pym as one of the characters. I think he's a great choice because Illuminati's still Illuminati. You mentioned Jean Grey. I think that could be a really strong choice. Then after that, it really goes into all of these old meta characters to where they don't really have those new stats. And I'm trying to look at the new stats. Ancient One could be an interesting one as well. She is a mystic character though, but she is a really good character. I really like Ancient One personally. Otherwise, I don't think Hercules is viable. I don't really want to take Hercules up.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to be super into war to bring up Hercules.
Yeah.
The other one that I thought was super interesting is Phoenix. So let's say you decided to bring Omega Red Phoenix Force, in your global villain. Now you want to bring up Phoenix, for your global hero. It's an option. You're talking a lot of mutant gear. You're going to be, it might be an option with the mutant leaderboard coming up.
Yep.
It's a possibility, right? So it's something to consider and think about. But the amount of damage that the Phoenix will output, I've heard, she performs very, very well there too.
Okay, so what's the likelihood of her getting killed off on that Shadow King boss node? Since I haven't done that boss yet, I'm not quite sure how the targeting goes or how easy that is once you get past that opening barrage.
Yeah, after the opening barrage, it's interesting because I think you'll find actually that the enemy one ends up, I believe, getting the special off from what I have been told. Now, I don't have mine, Phoenix, at G20 right now, but I was told that the enemy one actually gets theirs off first, but you're able to kind of come back and survive through it, is what I was told. So I think we'd like to get some more testing on it, and I can reach out to my buddies that have done it. But that was another confirmed character that I heard didn't take more than 2 or 3 attempts to get through it.
That's pretty good to know because she was like towards the top of my list until it's like we have to 3-star it. Then we kind of got that confirmation you have to one-shot the nodes. So it's like, well, I don't want to like fall in a trap while I'm stuck on the boss node because I took Phoenix over like Emma Frost X-Men, who Emma Frost X-Men, we've been using everywhere lately because of her passive being so good right now in the game.
Yeah, I agree. Emma was at the top of my list. That's why, she was already done when the trial started. So it was, very easy to kind of just drop her right in, going down the list for sure.
Now, do you see any other Liberty members that you would end up dropping off? Because the person that ended up doing Hank Pym, they had Captain Sam off, and they said Captain Sam's actually a very important character for the team. So would you drop somebody like Patriot, who's a bio character, or Peggy Carter, who's a skill, if you had to drop any of these other characters off?
So that's interesting. I like the three new Liberty characters a lot. Between Stun, the Rewind,
the taunts that
like
Patriot throws out.
Right, exactly. That kind of lets you pick and choose where you need to go. I don't think I would remove them. I would try to go with the 4-piece if I could.
And then just the rotating 5th.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think I would have done it any other way than those. It worked out very, very well.
Yeah, and we have the new Thunderbolts team coming, and 3 of those are going to be global hero as well. So that's going to be the Hyperion, Songbird, which I think Songbird would be a good bio pick to throw in here. Hyperion was a Mystic character, I believe. No, Black bio character. Then Victoria Hand is Tech and Bio. So I think that's something you kind of maybe slot in if you have the bio gear to be able to do it. But since we have Emma Frost X-Men at the 3 diamonds, I don't know how viable it is to throw like a 3 or 4 star new character in here. I think the safe bet's probably be like this team rotate out Emma Frost. I kind of agree with that portion.
Yep. Yeah. With how, I don't want to say like simple it worked out to be, but with how challenging it was with Old Man Logan and Black Knight, and how simple it was in comparison with Emma Frost, it makes a lot of sense to use characters that we already have, kind of maxed out, and because the 3 diamond, Battle World Fun when it first came out, it makes a lot of sense. It absolutely makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I do like how Liberty is turned out to be a really good team even outside of War. And with this, we have 2 skill, we have a tech, we have a bio, and then that rotating 5th, which again, I'm going with the mutant character on here. If you have like excess bio or tech or whatever, you can always slot in somebody else in this slot, and I think you're going to be fine. Now, the next section we have is Cosmic Villain. And this one here, I heard's pretty easy as far as the nodes goes. Was it actually a pretty easy section?
It felt super trivial for me, yes. And it could be for a variety of reasons, but it felt really, really trivial. So I had the bio gear early on to bring up Skrull, which not a lot of folks are going to do or invest in Skrull, given how old he is. But between Skrull, Mephisto, Shadow King, Thanos Endgame, and Null were the 5 main team that I took in. Before I brought Skrull up, my team was going to be Gore instead of Super Skrull.
Okay.
And because that's who I had, and then I ended up having the gear to also bring up Skrull. So it felt like that made a lot of sense to bring in Null and Gore together. And Thanos Endgame, Shadow King, and Mephisto felt really, really strong here. And even was the team that I was ready.
Yeah, and even with the overpowered, having an overpowered Skrull, I'm pretty sure still hits like a truck. So it's not a terrible choice.
Yeah. If they're gonna keep giving us Crucible rooms where the alts cost 2 less, and find ways to try to throw some tricks in there. It doesn't always get everybody, but it'll get somebody one time for sure.
Yeah, as far as Null goes, I did want to try to bring Null. He's right here for me. The issue with Null is that he's a Mystic character, and taking him away and adding in Shadow King, to me, made a lot more sense, because I've used so much Mystic gear. We have a leaderboard payout, like I mentioned. Once I get the leaderboard payout, Shadow King's going to be done, and I'm going to want to G20 him anyways because of how incredible of a character he is. So that's kind of the pivot I'm making, and I'm still going to take Null to G20. It's going to be when I unlock Xavier, because they did change it to where we do get these payout for the gear 20s, and it's 3 pieces, which is going to get me Null to G20. So I'm not going to use them in the Xavier Saga, but once it's done, he's going G20 for sure.
Yep. makes sense. Absolutely. Shadow King was, I think, like my third character that I did, and I have no regrets. I mean, when they put out Overpower and Shadow King was out there, his ult, if you are hitting into non G20 characters, is the funnest ult that I've had before Xavier's, really. But it was so good. It's just,
especially if they have like defense down.
it's bonkers how good Shadow King is.
Yeah, Gore, he just pairs very well with Null right now. Gladiator, even though he doesn't take full advantage of the overpowered, it makes it to where if there's an overpowered character where it's G20, they're not going to get the extra damage boost on Gladiator. New stat character, he has that taunt immunity safeguard on spawn, so that's the reason I really like him. And he's a bio character, so for me it fits. Super Scroll though, I wouldn't hate a G20 Super Scroll. That might have to happen once I'm done with my run as far as that goes.
Yeah, just expensive, that's all.
Yeah, 5 pieces is pretty insane for a non-host Ares character. Other options, I don't think Kang is really viable as like a lock anymore, just due to the stat creep that he's kind of run into. Everybody else is like really down here on the list, and I don't think we're having any new cosmic villains that's kind of on the way, because Thunderbolts is just that global. Quasar is Cosmic Hero, which we can talk about him, and we don't know what team is coming with him, so we can't really even really guess what's going to be coming for Cosmic Villain. I think these are like the safest bets, like rotate out Shadow King for Null. If you have excess bio due to like leaderboards that's coming, Super Scroll could be an option, so I definitely agree with that. Ultimus, he could be an interesting one, because that ultimate is just going to wreck anybody who he punches into with taunt, so he might be somebody that's like after everybody.
100%. Yeah, I think on this list, I've still got Gladiator, Kang, and Ultimus to do. We'll scratch that. I'm going to do Gladiator right now, actually. And after that, we're going to have, I guess we just have Ultimus and Kang to do, really. So of all those characters, those are the only ones that I plan on bringing up to G20 in the immediate future. So it's just going to be those two. Dormammu is an honorable mention, but even then, just doesn't pair well, in my opinion, especially with his cost. So, yeah, I think your options are somewhat limited, but
but they're good options.
They're good options. Yeah.
Yeah, Kang, I'll probably end up doing him like later, because he is tech. We don't have like a lot of good tech characters to take up to G20, so he's gonna be like a luxury G20 tech character I take up personally. Let's go ahead and move over to Cosmic Hero. So this one here, here we go, and Hero. Now there's 2 different paths I hear that we could end up taking. The path that I'm going to end up taking, because I'm more of a Crucible person, is going to be like Lilandra, Havoc, Howard, and I do want to take Kahori up, and then we have Odin. Is this the team that you use? I think you swapped out Kahori, right?
I did. I dropped Kahori on the boss node. I tried the boss like 3 or 4 times to just no avail. It did not work out well. And for one reason or another, we ended up bringing in Groot into this group. No Rocket, and Groot was able to heal us up and keep us up alive long enough to make things matter. So that was really the key. Even though Kahori's special is good to do the AoE on all the minions for that last node, it was really about staying alive long enough and really just letting Odin get the swipes and killing everybody is how it felt. So. And I mean, it was funny. I accidentally beat it. I had no idea that Xavier was about to lose, his last 25% of his health, because it felt so different with Kahori, the boss node. But the regular nodes were 0 issues bringing in Kahori. I mean, autoable with the team that you're looking at right there. So if I wasn't racing, there's a good chance that Kahori would be just fine on the boss node, but taking time and doing that. But they were talking, now we're at the end here, and I was getting information like, hey, you might get #1, it's possible, and so we were just like, go mode at that point in time, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So maybe Kahori cost you #1 because of those resets. No,
I'm gonna
no.
say it's not going to the bathroom on time before it started, where I had to take a break halfway through.
That could do it for sure. Now the other option, because I saw this from Ceci on Dorky Dad's video, was he ended up using Absolute A-Force with Lilandra Odin. So he brought like Medusa, Ms. Marvel Classic, and he was able to do it with that, which I find very interesting. So there's really that two different paths that you could end up taking. You can go with the Crucible path with Starjammers because they do get the bonuses, or you can go Absolute A-Force as a good option as well. Have you had a chance to test that portion out yet, or heard any other things about that?
I haven't yet. I've got Ms. Marvel Classic because all of the Ms. Marvels are kind of like my, favorite characters, if you would. They're the pet characters we take up. So as soon as I was done, we brought her up for sure. I guess I could try that. Yeah, we could definitely do that with Medusa, Kahori, Odin,
and then Lilandra, because we have to bring her.
Have to bring Lilandra, of course. Yep, that would be interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So if you're like more into war, you can definitely go that route. If you're more into Crucible, you can go the Starjammers route, which I actually like. So we're not like really pigeonholed to taking the Starjammers like we are with Vigilante and Liberty right now. So,
yep. No, I couldn't agree more. And
yeah. Then like we have Doctor Strange, who's a cheap character at the 2 gear, being able to do a heal flips. I think he could be a good replacement. Moondragon with the Astral team, I think she could be good because she's got heal sustained as well. So I do think Kahori could definitely be like the swap out character if we do end up doing like the Starjammers with Havoc and Howard, and then we have Lilandra. So
absolutely.
How much
there's something to be also said for Invisible Woman too, right? With the potential, with what the the Scopely team has said, about the Fantastic Four and what might be coming up in the next age. So I think there's a lot of viable options for this section.
Yeah, and Invisible Woman is a 1. Is she a 3? That's a 2.
3, yeah. Yep, 3.
And so she's a 3 cost bio, which isn't bad, and her unique is Unstable Cloth. So that is definitely a good viable option, especially with the barriers that she puts out and the retaliates. She could be a good sleeper pick if you have excess bio and you're like at the home stretch. I definitely like that pick. I'm curious as far as Silver Surfer, maybe he might get a rework because of the Annihilators and then the Fantastic Four movie as well. I'm really curious what they're going to do with that. Now, Johnny, he is way down here for me. Depending on when you're entering, if Human Torch does get like a rework for then, I don't know how expensive he is though. Do you know if he's like a 3 or 4 cost?
He's 2 cost on G19. I didn't G19 yet. Here, I'll do it.
So he's a 2 cost?
A 2 cost on G19, and then I lied to you, he's 3 cost.
He's a 3 cost. Okay. And his special's fairly cheap at a 4/4, gives offense up. His ultimate's definitely a high cost ability, so I know that Xavier fight's kind of a longer one because you have to keep clearing the waves out. So I don't know how viable he would be as far as that goes. But yeah,
we'd have to see
he's a favorite character.
If there is one, we'd have to see. But yeah, absolutely. The hints were strong from the Scopely team for sure.
Yes, they definitely were. Basically saying, well, which member hasn't had a rework yet? So it's like Human Torch.
Yep.
Now, as far as the overall experience that you had with the Xavier unlock, so we talked about Xavier himself not kind of fulfilling what we expected due to how easy it is to control him, being more of an offensive weapon. The Saga itself, I do like the boss fights because every boss fight was actually different. And that's the type of things I really liked in the game, as far as things they could maybe add in Battle World in the future, because those boss fights could be very fun. Having the interesting mechanics on the nodes, I enjoyed that. Were there any other things that you did enjoy from the Saga?
So it's interesting. I can say this. My take on the Saga was I love the fact that there were new and fresh boss fights and new mechanics. I thought that was fantastic. It felt like there were like some abilities turned on from whether it was war or raid abilities. I would have loved for that to be just a little bit more like super public. It didn't feel
Yeah.
like we knew about that specifically going in. So I'd love for that to be understanding. I'm a much bigger fan of Dark Dimension content where it's a little bit harder. You're not going to one-shot a node. You're going to have to come in multiple times and refresh and go up that way. And I realized that so many people have said, "Are you advocating for us to, go through cores?" And I'm like, absolutely. But that's what I enjoyed, right? I enjoyed that style of race rather than having to 3-star it. Now I will say this. Leading up to it, I was not hyped because having to 3-star it means having to reset.
Mhm.
I'm just not a fan of reset content. Like having to sit there and reset over and over and over again, whether it's RNG or whether it's counting turns, like the Shadow King event was when it first came out.
Yeah.
And like the temporal cataclysm and whatever it was for the skins lately. Like I don't even participate in those things because I don't the cosmetics don't interest me in any way, shape, or form. Whether it just be for that type of content. But if it was something important and I have to do it and we got to back out, that's a different story. But like the Shadow King, that's a leaderboard. You're competing to get one of the highest red stars, right? Things like that. You have to do it if you want the prize, right? So that's the way I felt about those. And that type of content doesn't excite me. I much prefer the Dark Dimension grind. Like Mephisto, I think I was number 47th in the world on Mephisto, 46
Nice.
or 47. And that took 2 months. 2 months to get to top 50. That was the most enjoyable grind that I've had in a long time, right? It took a while to get the gear. I was so excited to get the gear. I was not doing it for free either, right? Like I was spending to get it. So it's I like that type of content, me personally. Not everybody will. That's just my take. This is my opinion. But I would love to see more variety in some of these things. Add in the new mechanics, the boss fights. Keep coming up with new stuff too, Scopely. Please do. Like all these things. Add it also into the Dark Dimension run. And then maybe we have one Saga and one DD run per year, 6 months apart or something along those lines. All of a sudden that cadence feels a lot better to me. There's something for everybody and different ways to unlock different tunes for sure.
Yeah, the Saga itself, I think they were a little bit more successful in the Apocalypse Saga, just because they didn't hide like the mechanics like we talked about with Vigilante, the war buffs being activated, the Crucible buffs being activated. They were more transparent, saying you have to use these teams, so we knew what to expect. So if they were more transparent on the things, like with the Scourges, if they put on there like a counter, so that way you know what turns you're on, so that way you know what score you're getting, so that way you're not just wasting a run and you don't even beat your old score. I think they need to be a little more transparent in that aspect. The Dark Dimension aspect, I do enjoy the planning for Dark Dimension, and every day waking up, being excited to, hey, I get to do my node run for Dark Dimension. That stuff always excited me as well, as opposed to, I got the checklist of characters. Let me go ahead, knock this out in like 20 minutes. And then I'm back to waiting again. So they definitely have their pros and cons. I'm hoping they definitely learn from this one. And maybe they alternate like a Dark Dimension with the Saga every year. Like what they did with throwing Odin in there. And now we have this. We have Annihilus coming for the Age. So that's probably going to be a Saga. So maybe we're going to have a Dark Dimension in between to kind of hold us over. So that's my hope, at least. So
yeah, that would be neat. Be awesome. Love to see that, because I know everyone is going to have different opinions on that, but if we could get a little bit of that, a little bit of this,
yep,
I think that creates super fair trade-offs, and as long as the content's engaging, I think that's the important part.
Yeah. Now, where can people find you? Because I know you stream on Twitch. You're starting to upload more videos on YouTube. So any plugs that you want to do in here?
I appreciate that. Yeah, appreciate that. You can find me OG Diamond Dave, pretty much everywhere, Twitch and YouTube. YouTube is just some Cosmic Crucible videos with occasionally my hot steaming takes, if you would, on something that's going on. But mostly, stream on Twitch for Cosmic Crucible, and just try to bring that type of content. And that's mostly what I focus on is the CC stuff, and I leave all the other stuff to the professionals for sure.
Well, I'll make sure to put that stuff in the description below. So make sure you guys end up following and subscribing to Diamond Dave, because he's actually really fun to watch on stream. I always enjoy it. So you make good content. If you guys did enjoy this video, please remember to like, share, subscribe to the channel. Until next time, have one for the rest of the day.